It always comes to this. More nice shit. So there guys, here to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off the sleeve with Rick. It started peeling about, I don't know, a little less than a day after I showed it off. So parts of this are already peeled, believe it or not. Some parts of it are still going to lighten up between now and the next time I show it off. This is the end of the day, so it was getting a little dry. I just put a little green glide on there. It's kind of my backup. We have green glide all over the place at the shop. So when I'm not home and I can't get my Aquaphor, green glide is a good substitute, I find. I find it goes on a little bit smoother and it's a little less thick, easier to spread, but I find it makes my skin a little greasier, and if you're prone to breakouts, I find green glide can cause those a little bit more. I used to find that, like when I just had solid black arms, if I had like little pimples or little dry spots or whatever, they would show up a lot bit like easier. Now where I have like something there to break up the black, your eye isn't as drawn to it, so that may be partially it is. I'm just not noticing it quite as much anymore, and so it doesn't bother me. But I do find that my skin is a little bit prone to breakouts if I over moisturize, so I found green glide is just a little bit too much for my skin. Anyway, I'm not going to waste too much time pissing around about aftercare today. I talk about aftercare a lot. It's something people ask me a lot about though too, so in fairness. I had another session today. I'm a little lightheaded, no pun intended. We did the session I've been barking about now for the last few weeks, and it went every bit as easy and as good as I expected it would. We did the white and black on black thorns, and we added some leaves to the back of my roses. I don't know if they show off here. I'm trying to show it off, but if they're not showing off real well there will be pictures in here and a video wraparound that will do a better job of showing it off than I can in this vlog. Same as the top even. There's a bit of glare from the light overhead here, but and when you get your head tattooed, it's super shiny. You can see that the white did really, really well, but that's not all we used. I was pretty happy with how the white in the back of my head went with the rose that Terry touched up or reworked earlier this year. So in an effort to experiment a little more, and also in kind of noting how well that rose did, and the tone that it got, and same as these ones, I decided to use some smoke silver in these. I said to Terry before we started, I was like, yeah, we'll do white, but we'll do opaques as well. So you can see there's different tones in there. It has kind of more of a black and gray-esque vibe to it. I had mentioned that I want to do red highlights in them, and we're still going to do that. It's just Terry felt, and obviously this is a partnership, Terry felt it would be better to do the red highlights on either the black parts, potentially the black and opaque parts when this is healed. So say in 3 weeks we're gonna come in and we're gonna probably hit this whole thing again, just the bright spots. The opaques might need to be done again in places, but my head didn't bleed so much and the opaques went in really, really well. And opaques I think show up better over black than they do over negative space, to be quite honest. They've done enough trick for every time we've used them. We used smoke silver and titanium silver in lots of places on my torso, Rick and I, and that's kind of what put me in mind to use them in places with Terry as well. Like we did a pass of white over these here last year, and it was the second pass of white, and it did lighten them more, but they still had that reddy tone to them. So we did another pass over them, and we used opaques this time. And there's still just a bit of a pink tinge, but as you can see, that's pretty close to black and gray now. So that is black and gray, and that's opaque and white and black on red. So again, these were red at one point. So that, keeping these two in mind here, and the color that we got here, using opaques and white together on top of black, you do get something like black and gray. Now, obviously, I don't need to say it, I'm sure people watching have already noticed that this puts a highlight on how patchy this black is. But don't you worry, as early as next week we'll be getting at that. If my head's in the shape and healing that it needs to be by next Thursday, so 8 days from now, we'll be coming in and we'll be doing the red. If it needs a little longer, that'll be in a few weeks. So this is gonna get red over black, and we're gonna touch up the red in the forehead when we're there. In all the places in between where the thorns are sitting, it's gonna be red on black, like on my neck and my arm. And all that's going to do is serve to break up the black background, or the dark gray background that we have now from the thorns, and again contrast everything out. So as cool as these are now, they'll get an upgrade soon. And again, there's going to be at least 2 different shades of red in there. We may end up with 3, because Terry was talking about, this one was all on him. This was his idea. He was talking about putting some red on black and some red on opaque in the thorns, just so you could have different tones of the red, even in the nebula highlights. So we could end up with 3 different variations of red. I think that this is going to cover really easily with red, so I'm not really worried about that at all. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be a 2-session thing. I think it'll be one pass is going to go hard. It's going to take quite a bit of work to get the red over the black. But I think when we come in and we do the second pass, it's going to go in really, really easy, much like the neck and my arms. When you put in the work, when you do that second pass, it really does help to solidify it, not so much to brighten it. And again, I'm not looking to have a whole ton of bright red all over my face and head, just same as my neck. As I've explained before, I used to have bright red all over the place, and I found it almost too loud. So the goal here is to have an earthy tone. I get so many people messaging me on Instagram and stuff like this now who don't seem to understand that the red was actually done over black, and they're asking me what shade of red I used to get this earthy tone of red. But the question is never like, what shade of red did you put over your blackout? It's always like they assume that it was done pre-blackout, and it's actually been the end of the conversation sometimes when tattooers will message me and ask me what red I've used, and I tell them that it was Red Velvet Fusion, but it was done over blackout. Oftentimes it's just a railroad, like they don't know where to go from there, like they don't know how to process that information, or it goes into some kind of information overload. But that is the answer. Same as this, no one believes that was done over black. Like all that white and red in there, it's now about 1.5 years old, is holding up in ways that no one would have expected. And in fairness, it's holding up even better than I expected it to. And I have it in multiple areas. These armpits now are 1 year old. You know, all of this stuff is working out really great. And I have to gloat a little bit because I've been talking about doing this, and if we could do it, and I was pretty positive we could, but we blacked something out and then covered it up 3 weeks later. And that's not going to go away, by the way. That's not going anywhere. Because we used the opaques, they don't really change a whole lot from fresh to healed. I've noticed, if anything, the opaques kind of take over more as time goes on. I don't know what it is about them, but they really do. They hold their ground, and they seem to bully the black out pretty good. I could see myself using a whole lot more of them. Terry and I were even theorizing using a even lighter black to do blackouts here at the shop. he's got some pretty light blackish kind of opaque grays, and they're not quite like blacks, like they're not quite like Dynamic or Panthera or whatever, but they're black enough that they could cover most things. And then from there, you can really do whatever you want. And then say if I wanted to have this be black and gray, we don't need to use color. We could come back in with Panthera like we did with the line, and we could black this background in, so it would essentially not look, it would essentially look like this tattoo is done and then we blacked around it. It would never be conceivable or in any way imaginable to anyone who didn't know that this was ever blacked out. Now picture this. These were red at one point. This was a line style black and gray circlet, and this finished completely different, right? These were stars at one point. I had a dagger and a rose here, right? My chin was black before, and none of these lines were on my face before. If you go back and you watch a vlog of mine from about 1.5 years ago, my face looks effectively 100% different. The only things that are completely the same are these scripts. So, you know, all at once, as if you've been watching this all along, it doesn't seem as drastic as it does if you see these things put next to one another. But everything has changed so much. It should be a testament to the fact that if you have a tattoo you don't like, you don't have to do laser. You know, I make this case all the time, and I'm going to make it again, and I think I just proved my point dramatically here. Yeah, this is a faster road there. There's no good argument for laser anymore unless you're really convinced you're going to get rid of the tattoo. It's just, this is faster, it's easier, it's less painful, and it's less costly. I don't understand why anyone should be doing laser anymore. Especially, I've seen people get lasered between 10 and 15 times to remove something. So this is a 3-week blackout and full cover-up, and it's going to be even more elaborate than this yet. And it's preposterous that it's as easy as it is to do. I can't believe that this stuff hasn't been played with more, but I mean, we're doing it now, and I'm very happy with the results. But as I told Terry today, yeah, I'm excited to see the thorns, but this session was much less about getting a cool tattoo and more about science. Sometimes it's more about the expedition to me, and believe it or not, I really honestly was just more morbidly curious than I was excited for a new tattoo this time. So I have a feeling when I'm talking to you guys again next, these things are going to dull down just a bit, but they're going to be more or less the same. And within 3 weeks, I'll have another maybe even next week, I'll have another update on the head. So look forward to that, and I'll be having another session with Rick again as well. So I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.